Hey guys, this is Vu here. So today I want to talk a little bit about AI. So one of the topics that's been bugging me a lot lately is this idea of AI democratizing a lot of things within society. And so I actually read this article recently that kind of validated what I was thinking about. So the title is AI was supposed to democratize talent. Here's why it could spawn more elitism. And so the one of the things that the dream of AI was to automate a lot of these repetitive tasks that a lot of people don't want to do, and the dream for the past 60, 70, 80 years was to automate these tasks and allow people to be more creative and work in more creative settings. The idea behind then was that AI wouldn't be able to replicate a lot of these things that we consider creative, right? Because that's really hard to do, or at least the thinking back then was it's really hard to automate. But what we've seen in the past few years is that AI is able to do a lot of these things that we think is very creative, such as a lot of the art, a lot of the things like programming, things like playing Go. It's actually doing the opposite of democratizing a lot of these things, right? So if you think about the relationship between a worker and the employee, right? So the more skill sets, the more in-demand skill sets, the more things that the worker can produce and add value to the employer, the more bargaining power they have, if you think about it. And so one of the things in the past 20, 30 years in Silicon Valley is that programming is hard, software development is hard. And so a lot of these engineers that come into Silicon Valley and work in these tech companies, they have a lot of say and a lot of sway with their employers. And so if you think about the trend in the past few years about how a lot of these tech entrepreneurs, these tech leaders are moving more to the right, more so that like the employees, they have less say, less sway within the company. If you see what's going on with Oracle recently letting go 30,000 employees, Meta tens of thousands of employees, all these tech companies, and they're blaming it on AI, while at the same time their revenue and their profits are higher than ever. And they're blaming it on AI, which is partially true. But the other thing is that AI has given these employers much more leverage against the employees lately, right? So because they're able to duplicate a lot of these things, a lot of these work that was difficult in years past. And so the other thing that I want to talk about is I've seen a lot of people that are not technical at all begin to utilize AI, utilize ChatGPT, utilize Claude for their everyday workflows. And in some ways, that allows society to democratize using AI. But that is such a small portion of the jobs that are being created versus the jobs that are being destroyed, that I think that it's allowed employers, allow the bargaining power between employees and employers to move in the direction of employers. And so the other thing that I've thought about recently is, have you noticed that a lot of these tech CEOs, they are really, really pushing for AI, and in this battleground, right? They're investing so much money into AI. And I thought, why is that the case, right? If you think about it, why are these companies investing $500 billion a year in the US just to build these data centers, just to be the number one AI company within the US? And so first, I thought, okay, AI has been the dream of society for the past 80 years, but I think there's something much more devious going on. And so the other thing is, I read this article recently. It's about the percentage of people who utilize AI for every day, for their knowledge, to validate facts, to get information, to get news updates. And so I think around 30% of people, 32% of people utilize AI for their physical or mental health. So rather than going see a doctor, they utilize AI to just kind of diagnose themselves. And then they also get their news from AI. And so because AI is now a one-stop shop for all this information, whoever controls the AI pipeline can control the information flow of society, right? So that's why you see guys like Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, they are spending billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to get the latest AI tech, because they know whoever controls the latest AI model can control the information pipeline. And if you think about it, that's just called propaganda. And so in decades past, we have propaganda, we have certain oligarchs controlling the news, and whoever controlled the news back then can kind of control society. And so a lot of these are modern day oligarchs, whether it's Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, all these guys. They know whoever can control AI can control the pipeline for data, for information. Whoever controls AI will control what people think and can control the narrative around society. And so one of the things that I've seen is a lot of people within my family and friends who are not tech heavy, but they get all their information, whether it's through ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. So whatever they say, whatever these LLMs say, is a fact. Even though if you read about hallucinations, right? So this article is a little dated. It's a few months old, but it looks like the hallucination rates for all these models are relatively high. So Claude 4.5, for example, had a 26% hallucination rate for information that it doesn't know. So rather than it saying it doesn't know, it'll just spit out incorrect information. So, and then you have like ChatGPT, which is even higher, or Llama, which is Meta's AI platform, XAI, which is Musk's AI platform. They're all faking information, and they're so confident with it that a lot of people believe it as fact. And so a lot of these CEOs, a lot of these oligarchs, tech CEOs, they know that. And so it doesn't matter if the information is correct. But if it sounds correct enough, that can be the truth to a lot of people. And so that is one of the things that I've been thinking about, is like AI is supposed to democratize things, but it's really not. It's allowed all this information to be within one pipeline that someone, an oligarch, a tech CEO can control, or a politician can control, and allows society to be much more dependent on whatever the AI says. And so that's something that I've been thinking about lately. And I don't know what the solution to is, because as long as we have an AI race against other countries, especially China, these tech companies will get a lot of political backing to continually improve and deepen their like claws into society. All right, this is Vu. I just wanted to do a quick video on this, and I hope a lot of people kind of understand where I'm coming from. So please like and subscribe if you thought that what I said was relevant and interesting. Have a good night.